Guys, today's gonna be a bit of a different stream than usual. Alright guys, different stream than usual. Today's gonna be a locked in kind of day. A day to just get some work done. There's some stuff I want to get just completed already, so I'm gonna be kind of not super responsive. And yeah, so I think I've showed it before. We have this terrain. It's cool, it's great. We wrote a custom terrain material shader off stream, and it works pretty well, but there's limitations with this terrain material shader, or using Unity's built-in terrain system. Even with our material custom shader, even though we have cool things like this debug, map projection versus the actual tiles, and even though we can change how tiles are blended, there's still things that are kind of outside of our control. One inherent limitation of the terrain, the normal terrain painting stuff, is that you only have 3 slots. You only have 3 slots, and that's just a by design kind of thing that they've inbuilt into this. And I can understand some reasons behind it, but I don't like that. I want to actually have much more fine-tuned granular control. I want to have a lot more tiles available to me. And there's ways around it, but I like this interface of just being able to draw over this material at any given point. Like I could just theoretically go into Aseprite and manually paint tiles. Like go into an image editing software like this, paint the tiles 1 by 1, pixel by pixel, save it, go back into Unity, and then take a look at the changes. But I don't. It feels very, very inflexible. I don't like that. Which prompted this whole desire to make a custom editor, terrain material, terrain shader, and a custom editor for this as well, so that I can have the freedom to design levels the way I want to design them and not be bound by these limitations from the engine's inbuilt stuff. And I could probably find stuff online, but I think part of the fun is just doing it yourself. So yeah, we're gonna get started on making our own custom stuff. We already kind of took a look at, we looked at a decompiled version of the standard terrain shader, which is how I found out how to connect with them, how to get access to, or how to make my shader have things that the terrain builder looks for. So for example, when it comes to the terrain shaders, they're typically looking for the 3 textures you're going to be using to blend, which are, do I not have this? Oh, I moved it, that's why. Map projection, I was looking for it. Yeah, so things like this, the splat maps and the control maps, we can talk a little bit about it. Yeah, we can talk a bit about it to understand what Unity supports out the box, and then how we're going to differ in terms of our design requirements. Yeah, so with terrains, normally they have 3 slots for painting your textures. Let's find it real quick. Here you go. So we have 1 slot here that is the green one for grass. We could paint in there. We could paint our grass. We have another one for dirt. And then we have another one for stone. So how do they do that? Well, there's 2 main components to it. First, you have a sampler for each of the texture slots we're talking about. So for example, in this case, the splat 0 would be the grass, splat 1 would be the dirt, and then splat 2 would be the stone texture. And then secondly, we would have this control sampler. So this is kind of interesting. If you look at what the actual data that's showed in this control sampler texture, you're going to see that you're going to either have a color that's red, green, or blue, or a blend between them. And this is what indicates what texture to we use. If it's red, that means we're going to be using splat 0. If it's green, we use 2. If it's blue, we use 3. Let's even go into our debug here and swap this for the control texture. And you're going to see, if we switch to debug, bam! You see the different colors that are being painted here. This is for splat 1. This is splat 2. And then this is splat 3. And you can see how the colors interact with each other. And then how we switch back from debug mode here, how they turn into the colors that we're using. So this is a really cool system to work with. And if you use enable blending, if you actually enable blending, it looks much more natural. I've purposely not done that. But if you want to be more, if you want to see how that little blending works, you have this kind of thing that happens. And we're making a more photorealistic game or something that looks a little bit more high res, and this works better. There's still some odd properties, and that's due to specific things I implemented. But yeah, so this is cool, and it works in a bunch of different cases. However, for my case, it doesn't quite work because I want to have more than 3 textures. That's very limiting. There's a bunch of different types of things in this environment I may want to have. I may want to have one texture for the side of these walls and then another texture for pathways that go across the village. So there's a need to have more than one texture, or more than 3 textures. So we're gonna have to revise this a bit. It may not be the most efficient thing, but I think it's gonna work pretty dang well. And we're basically gonna modify this where we can have a larger sample of splat maps. But it's gonna be a little bit more complex because now we're not looking just for, is it a red color, is it a blue color, or a green color? Now we have to be more specific in terms of how we're choosing the colors. There's a trade-off because when it's just RGB, it's easy to blend the 3 textures together in different ways to have something smooth. But since for our game we're not worrying about texture blending between texture A and texture B, we can afford to have specific values that correspond to specific textures, and even include variants. So that is kind of the idea that we are playing around with here. So instead of checking, for example, here, we're trying to be a little smart, using the Control G or B to do stuff. Instead, we can do something specific like, I don't know, float for, my bad. Float for, let's say dirt. And we can have it set to a specific color value, like, I don't know. .5, whatever, right? Something like this. And then we can do explicit checks against that. And now we know, oh, if it's this specific color, we use that specific thing. So if dirt equals, or if our control color equals dirt, we sample the dirt. We set the albedo to be the dirt color. So there's some trade-offs here because it introduces branching, which is not great for CPU code. What is branching? Branching is just if statements, basically. A bunch of different if statements. And for every single tile we wish to support, we're gonna have to add another if statement for it. If dirt, if grass, etc., etc. And the greater the number of tiles we want to add, the more big this grows. There's ways around it. However, interpolating between 3 colors is pretty simple as far as lerping is concerned. Interpolating it against a larger array is going to be a bit more involved. And I'm going to experiment to see how much... Well, there's two things we have to check. We have to check, A, how expensive is this operation in the first place? And if it's expensive enough, then we can start looking into ways we can try to remove this branching that's happening. Other thing that comes into mind is as well is the fact that we have samplers here, and there's going to be quite a number of samplers as we grow the number of texture tiles we want to have supported here. So if we want to have like 5, for example, or 6 total, that's 6 samplers, and depending on our GPU target, it may not even be supported. I'm going to be honest with you. It may not be supported. Let's see here. Oh, no. It seems actually fine. Well, we can cross that bridge when we get there. But if this becomes an issue, or if we want to limit samplers, there's other ways we can go about this. We can do a texture atlas instead, so that we only ever need one texture, and then we can instead kind of do some math to partition the UV coordinates we're sampling across it. So there's optimizations that we have to support a larger number of textures without having to make a bunch of samplers. So to do, potentially use Atlas. The thing I don't like about Atlas is that I have to make a conscious decision ahead of time to use these specific things and bake them to a texture. Whereas here, using a bunch of slots like this, it's kind of easy to just change the texture on the run, on the fly. But yeah. Anyways, that's kind of a high level understanding of the problem that we're facing, the problem statement, and the things we want to do to bypass these limitations. So, with that being said, I think now let's just start working on this texture painter. And I think I started it before, but I decided to just delete it so we can start a scratch here. So general things that we're going to need to do, since we're going to be using one material instance per terrain, per level, we're just going to do a slot that you set explicitly for the material that we're using for the terrain. Another thing we want to do is have a texture 2D list. And then we're going to do texture 2D, and these are going to be all the slots we have here. Terrain textures, very cool. And then we probably also want to have another thing where we select the texture we want to use to paint with. So there probably is something we want to have, like, I don't know, texture, either texture 2D or int current selected texture. And then we may also want to make a lookup table for the different types of colors. In fact, we might even want to pre-bake them, have them be set from the jump, the different colors that correspond to the different indices. Let me think about this. In fact, I may want to make the index colors be a texture. Because then within, I don't know, we can think about this. There's kind of pros and cons. If we make, like, for example, a list, or even int array color index, and hard code the colors for slot 1. I don't know, this. We can make it more artistic so it's easy for us to see. Oh, we wouldn't want to do that. We want to do vector 3 because that's the data we're storing, which is 0, 0, I don't know, 1. And so on and so forth. We'd have to have a second copy of this data in the shader, which is more inflexible, Whereas if I just have a texture instead for this, that would actually be nicer on both ends, because it's a unified value that we're using. Yeah, I have to think about that a little bit more. And that'll probably be a private thing. Private. Unless maybe I want to swap it out. Who knows? Texture, 2D, index colors. Cool. And then I think that's all the data for the most part we need. Current selected texture. And then okay, so another thing we need to do is have this run in edit mode, execute edit mode, yep. And this is gonna be an editor only, not region. If Unity editor, this is not gonna be used in builds. This is purely an editor tool we're making for ourselves to make designing levels easier. So, what's the thing we need to do here? A lot of the stuff has to be set in Inspector manually, but I actually think that works better for us. So a couple things we need to do. We have to be able to have it where if you click on a terrain, we raycast, we get the hit distance. Oh, that's another thing. We need a brush size. So let's go to current selected texture, and we also should set float brush size. Have it default to 1. In fact, let's make a header here. Brush controls. And then this one could be terrain setup. Hey, what's up, Agent Goose? Good to see you. Everything's good. Just work on a custom terrain editor for Unity, because our game has specific requirements. We have specific wants and needs and desires, and Unity's terrain editor is cool. And even with our own custom terrain shader, we're starting to hit limitations of it. So yeah, we're just going off-road because apparently nothing we do can be out the box. So yeah, that's the process we're going through right now with this ooh, interesting. Terrain default standard. 1 second. I wanted to show off the custom shader. 1 second. I think I was explaining what we were doing earlier, and I think I added too many splats to demonstrate the point. But I think this should be fixed now. Okay. Let's see if we can find it. Here we go. There we go. Map projection. Cool. And now we have the fun settings like this, where we can do whoop between this PNG we drew to start designing our level, and then see it projected onto our terrain editor. So we can go between looking at our design and seeing how well our current drawings align with that. Pretty cool. In the TLDR, because I explained this much more in depth at the top of the stream, but the TLDR is that this current texture or terrain editor is fundamentally built with the restriction of only having 3 different textures you can ever use. Either, only 3 at most. And for the type of game we're making, we actually want to have way more textures available to paint on. And this limitation's introduced due to how they do texture blending, but since we're doing a PS1 styled pixel art game, we don't need texture blending, so we can have as many textures as we want theoretically. I know there's an actual limit due to I think it's like 32 samplers. I think we're not going to need that many, but yeah, for what we're doing, this tile based not tiled based, but I guess a tiled based environment assets. Yeah, we just need to have more, just much more. So that's what's prompting this whole redesign and making our own custom terrain editor. We have to define how we paint stuff differently. You have to define our shaders. You have to communicate between them well. But I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. I think the most tough thing is going to be... no, I don't know, actually. It's probably... The thing that feels finagly is going to be figuring out, like, editor stuff. So, ray casting for the mouse position, checking to see if it hits terrain. But that's not even crazy because our terrain's texture stuff is indexed in world space. So we can literally take the hit position, snap it to the nearest integer, and then bam, we have our index into a texture that we can paint onto. Speaking of which, now that we're going off-road and not using Unity's terrain system, we can actually start changing these, for example, fields. Like for them, they call the different textures you can paint with splats. So they have splat 0, 1, and 2. And then the texture that you use to check to see which texture should we display at any given point is called the control. And I think I showed it earlier, but I'll show it again because it's cool. Here's the control texture that indicates how things are going to blur together. Here we go. So now if we go to our little debug mode, and we go to debug, now you can see how the different textures are being blended together. Where red indicates the first splat texture, green is a second, and blue is a third. So wherever you see red, that's going to be the first grass texture you see here. Where you see the green, that's going to be the dirt texture, and then where you see blue is going to be this stone texture. And if I switched off the debug, look at that. On Steam or anything? Yeah, it's going to be on Steam. Yeah, I'm planning for Steam and itch as well, and then I'm also going to be working on a mobile port for Play Store. I would want to do iOS, but I also don't want to own an Apple product. Not even out of like, I mean, partially ideological reasons, but also I just don't have the money. Like I think about all the money, all the things I could spend with the amount of money that would be required for a Mac and an iPhone, or even just an iPhone, and I just go, I think we could spend that money somewhere else. But yeah, I know, Steam, and also getting it Steam Deck compatible. This bad boy. And also, it's going to work good on a CRT. So I've actually been testing the game on these CRTs to make sure everything works and feels well. I'll wish whenever possible. Yeah, I'm going to make the Steam page sometime within the next... I know technically you should make it. I should just make it already, but I want to have promotional material when I make the Steam, the Steam page. But yeah, I'll announce it on the Discord and probably Blue Sky as well. So be sure to stay tuned for that. I think I just want to get this game to a nice vertical slice. Yeah, thank you. It's the product of a lot of I don't know, man. I don't go out very much, so we have to decorate this room to be very nice. Though honestly, it's not even that, like this stuff that looks the coolest, like the CRT, and like this stuff I got it for mad cheap. This is $20 on Facebook Marketplace. I got this at a vintage computer festival for I think $40. This was like $5, the DVR, and this thing is the biggest. It's the biggest. It's unsung because it actually fixed a bunch of issues with these. Like if I connect I used to use a direct converter for my PC. By the way, I'm using this as a third monitor. I don't know if you realize that. But yeah, if you connect the CRT directly to your PC, you get all these wobbly effects on it. But if you have it go to the DVR and then to your monitors, it just works. And the best part is that you can have it split the video signal to two monitors. So sometimes I like this one for the color, and then sometimes I like this one for the color, and then this one for the clarity and the sharpness. And then it's kind of funny. I play Steam games. I plug my Steam Deck into the CRT, and I play like Super Nintendo games on there. Like I'm playing through Dragon Quest 3 right now, and sometimes I play in bed. But when I'm down here, I just plug it directly there, and I just play it like our forefathers used to play it. It's so cool. It's so weird seeing new modern stuff being played through there and having it look and feel good. It's crazy. It's like the best of both worlds. But yeah, Messy Mansion for sure is gonna be working on all those consoles. And then I might even have custom settings for that so that people can just do it. And then even toggle on different effects like the PS1 shader effect we have. Like if you notice, let me see if we can go to a better place. I mean, you kind of see it around, but the vertices actually wobble like the PS1. It's not perfect, but it's pretty well, and I could tune it. So like if you look here, you'll see the textures wobbling. Kind of how like the PS1 used to do it. It's beautiful. I'm so hyped. I'm glad. I'm super glad you're hyped. Yeah, I'm super excited about it. And then, yeah, there's a bunch that's going on there. It's got a story to it and everything. It has story. It has, yeah, it's kind of, let me go here to Blue Sky real quick. There's like two main things besides this open world. We have this Mario Sunshine-esque cleaning mechanic. And then we have characters, there's their portraits on there. And then there's an overarching story that's framing this game. And in fact, there's different endings that can arise depending on how you play the game. Because you can choose to engage with the mechanics in different ways. Which will result in not only different endings, but even different feeling, different routes in the game, where your play experience going through Route A is going to fundamentally be different than your play experience going through Route B. It's not that big of a game either. It's pretty... As far as design principles are concerned, and even though this is technically... We've scope creeped quite a bit, but... We did it in the name of keeping consistent with the theme of the game. I think before initially we had it where the game was going to be maybe like an inch deep but pretty big. Whereas now I think I want to have it be pretty small but very deep. So we're going to see how this is going to play out. We're going to see how this plays out. Like before we're gonna have 9 levels, and I think now we're breaking it down to 3 levels, but the 3 levels are big like this, and there's gonna be a non-linearity to it. Yeah, making the game solo, well, the parts of the game I'm making it solo. So the music, the art, the coding, this is all me, right? I have a friend named Theo who's kind of like my design consultant. Yeah, I know it looked sus. I was like, let's not draw 2 circles next to it. Yeah, he's like my design consultant, so I meet with him regularly, and he's been very helpful in making design decisions about the game, especially because being by yourself, you get kind of, you can't see things clearly, whereas someone who's on the outside, they can see these ideas, and he's also taken time to work through different ideas for the design for the game and as far as routes. Like, I think we even had a couple sessions where we sat down and wireframed different progressions and narratives for this story in the game and structures mechanically for the game loop. So he's been very instrumental. And then besides him, there's maybe like 1 or 2 people, Shai and Marcus, I think, who I've contracted very early on, like months ago, to do some work for me. Back then, the game was supposed to be done within a week, and it had a very different scope. So they were super helpful during that. But ever since I had a new idea for the game and a new vision for it, we expanded and changed stuff, and I'm a lot more hands-on because I like having full control. How's the map going? The map is going interestingly. We're making a new tool. Unity has their own map structure, their own map tooling. We're actually going to make our own because what Unity supports does not work very well. There's a more in-depth structure. Like at the top of the stream, if you want to get a more in-depth understanding of why we are rewriting our own tooling for terrain manipulation, it's more in-depth over there. But TLDR, Unity has this restriction where you can only have 3 different textures that you can paint with. So I can paint with this one, I can paint with this one, and I can paint with this guy. And even though we wrote our own custom terrain shader off stream that allows cool things like, for example, you can see how dirt blocks are always gonna be next to stone blocks and they're blending very differently than normal terrain shaders, it's still limiting just to have 3 textures. And this is a byproduct of how they implemented it. They use something like a control texture map, and they have one color, red, green, and blue mapped to these 2 textures, or these 3 textures. It makes it easy so you could do blending like this. But since our game is very different, we're not doing texture blending at all, we can actually support way more textures than just 3. And to do that, it would require for us to go off-road, pull up our bootstraps and do it ourselves, which is what we're doing today. That's the plan for today. So I think I outlined the game plan for implementation, and now we're working on this tool that's going to be attached to the terrain where we can just, in editor, paint directly onto the terrain. There's another option that's easier in terms of implementation where I can just have literally the texture here, oopsie, and just paint whatever textures I want to have here. But it makes it very slow to iterate. I have to edit this and then save it, go back into here. Does it look right? No, it doesn't. Let's go back here, etc., etc. It's not a very conducive process for rapid iteration, which for levels you want to have that fluidity to explore ideas with very little cost, which is why we're doing it ourselves. We're going off the beaten path. We're doing the scary thing and implementing our own terrain editor, or at least implementing our own terrain painter, which is what's happening here. And we define a couple things. Today's gonna be more coding oriented, but it's okay. I love coding, actually. I'm not sure if you guys are gonna enjoy it, but I enjoy it. So let's see what we have here. So yeah, we started making this new terrain painter. We said it's gonna be in editor only because it's meant only for us to do changes to it, but in the actual game, no one's gonna be using this terrain editor. Maybe I might, I don't know. I was thinking about making a Patreon and having it where I can expose my code base. Because I have this tool, there's Unity, but then I have my own developer kit I've been developing for 4 years at this point. And this is probably going to go into it. And if this turns out well, I might just make it exposed. So if anyone else wants to do this kind of thing, they can do it. That's a different thought. How to start coding from what I've seen, learning Python to start with is the go. I have opinions. I have very strong opinions. But I think the best way to start coding is just to start coding. That's what I'm just going to say. If you have Python set up, if it seems easy to go with, and if you just want to make stuff work and start happening, do it, dude. Go for it. It's better to get started than not start at all. The biggest thing, and this is the common thing I've seen across people I've mentored, is that people are very scared about making the wrong move, their wrong first move, and honestly, the first move doesn't really matter. What matters is just you getting in there and doing stuff. What do you recommend? Where did you start? I started with C++, and then I switched to GameMaker Studio using GML. The opinions I have is much more in terms of the different shortfalls that you can come across with those languages. And some things you might encounter. But here's the thing, right? How did I just say this? So here's the thing, right? The priority number one is just starting and working on stuff, right? I worked in GameMaker. It uses a language called GML. It's very similar to Python, and the idea that there's no statically typed, no static typing. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it too much. How should I say this? With dynamically typed language like Python and GML and JavaScript and whatever like that, right? There's no types, which means that you can just, and they're interpreted, so you can just kind of do stuff without any rules or things being enforced upon you. So on the one hand, you don't have to know much about programming at all, and you can just get something to happen. And for getting started, that's actually really awesome, and it's going to get you excited because you're going to see things and make progress really quickly, and you're going to be like, oh, I'm making a thing move and behave and have logic and behavior. That's super sick, right? And I think in the very early stages, just making something that's cool and gets you excited is great. However, once you start going from small projects to bigger projects that take a longer time and have a lot more complexity, then you're gonna want to start having something that is statically typed, because statically typed languages, like for example C#, or C or C++ or whatever, right, enforce rules upon what you do, what you can do, and what you can't do, and they may seem strict, but in the long run, it makes it easier to diagnose bugs. It prevents bugs from happening. If you're doing something dumb or stupid, it stops you from doing it because you're breaking a rule. Whereas JavaScript, Python, or GML, they'll just kind of let you go along with it. So I think there's a video I talked about where, like, in high school, there's a bug that I couldn't solve in my GameMaker project, and I was crying, and I was so mad. That, like, I was like, it was very demoralizing. And it was because of the fact that it was a dynamically typed language. What am I using for this game? I'm using Unity and C#. That's kind of the combo. I mean, you can't really choose. Like, if you're using Unity, you're going to be using C#. C# is a nice middle space where it's a statically typed language, but it's still pretty loosey-goosey. You don't have to worry about a lot of low-level stuff like C++ or C or Rust or whatever. But really, it depends on your game. Like, honestly, like, if you have a way to, because I'm assuming you want to do programming because you want to make a game, correct? Like, if that's the case, yeah, Unity is a pretty good option. You have to pay the price up front for learning a statically typed language, but once it's gonna feel a little bit complicated. But once you start get the ball rolling, it starts making sense. But if you're completely new to programming and you're just not used to this at all, then honestly, and this is a kind of hot take for me. And if you're making a 2D game too, GameMaker is awesome. But to start with, I want to make smaller projects. Okay. Excuse me. Then, yeah, honestly, GameMaker Studio might be the move. I wouldn't use it now, but I'm at a different level. I've been programming for a fat minute, and now I have specific understanding about stuff, and I have specific requirements and desires, right? But if I were to go back, like, yeah, GameMaker is awesome. Heck, if you don't even want to use like code, you can even start using just the drag and drops. That's how I started. They have a drag and drop thing, where you can use code blocks to make stuff, and it's pretty powerful. You can do quite a lot with it. And then once you want to go beyond that, pick up GML, GameMaker language. And there's a lot of stuff they're adding now to GameMaker that's more like formal things like types. So they've introduced structs and whatnot. I think if you're learning programming, and if you're trying to learn programming, you want to do some projects that are pretty small and very quick, and you want to make a game, I think GameMaker is a great starting point. New Accept from scratch when I was young. Okay, sweet. Then yeah, honestly, GameMaker don't sound bad. Don't sound bad. It's a nice little environment, and it's nice too because like it's all bundled together. GameMaker has a code editor built into it, as well as the engine and level editor. Like everything is bundled together. Whereas something like Unity, it might be a bit overwhelming because, oh, what is this? You have to download not only this engine, but you also have to download a code editor of some sort. And I mean, you know, there's the options that you can use VS Code, you can use VS Studio, or if you got the money and you want to get the nice stuff, you can use Writer like I'm using. It's a lot of options that could overwhelm people. But yeah, is GameMaker free? Yeah, I believe they have a free version. They have a free version available. Yep. Long-term stable version, GameMaker beta. Yep. Yes, all versions of GameMakers are completely free to download. You only need to pay if you plan to release your game commercially, or if you like to export your games to console platforms. So, if you're just trying to learn GameMaker, if you're trying to do some stuff on it, just do it. Download it. Start working with it. Yeah, my first game, my mobile game, Fight and Flight, I made in GameMaker. In fact, only this game was made in Unity. That was like a long time ago. But Fight and Flight, I made it in GameMaker.
Fight and Flight.
And, dude, you can publish the web pretty easily.
Fight and Flight.
It has a lot of features they've added. Like, ever since I used GameMaker, they've just made it better and better and better. And there's so much you can do with it. I suck at my game,
Back
dude.
to the drawing board. Let's go.
And then also, once you get to a certain level, or if you start doing some stuff, GameMaker also provides some more advanced features. So they provide options for shaders. Yeah, I did lose to my own game. Yeah. Keep in mind, I use a very weird keyboard. So the controller setup I had set for this game does not work for my keyboard. I use a split keyboard, and if you notice something, the left arrow keys, so left and right, these are left and right, are here, and the up and down are over here. They're separated. It's very, my keyboard has become very oriented for coding, but for playing games, things have gotten a bit complicated, to say the least. Yeah, on Reddit. Yeah. Like I said, once you start getting more into programming, you're going to start developing your own opinions about what you want. You start having specific requirements and desires. You want to be faster. You want to limit the time between your brain to the actual code. So you start learning different things like custom keyboard setups, Vim motions, like all this stuff. Like I can navigate all my code base without using a mouse at all. I can select stuff, I can delete, put it back, undo, redo, like very easy. I can delete this whole thing with just 3 key strikes. Like, you know, it's kind of like the skill tree, man. You'll eventually get to that kind of point. And which is why I can't use GameMaker now. Like, that's why I started working on my own engine a while ago. Because I realized, okay, GameMaker was great for me when I didn't know much stuff. But now that I've gotten to this point, specific wants, needs, desires. And also I want to do something that's faster. So we do it our own. The skill trees are fun, yeah, and it's like, here's the thing: I do music and art, and there's definitely skill trees in those departments, and you can see a distinction between me when I was at a low, like the very start of my music skill tree versus where I'm at now with my music skill tree, and where I was with my art skill tree versus where I am now. But with programming, it feels like such night and day. Like, it feels like it's like the most drastic of changes between where I started and where I'm at currently, and the things that are enabled by it. It's very crazy how that works. And honestly, like, programming is kind of like I don't know, it used to be my weakest discipline. But now that I worked on it, like, professionally for a couple years at this point, and this has been my main thing, it's kind of crazy how, I'm not gonna say surpass, but it's just very different. It's very different compared when I look at my body of work. Why is my keyboard not working right now? I did something dumb, didn't I? This keyboard's very finicky, though. Come on, what's going on here? Okay, now you're working. Alright, terrain painter. There we go. Just that one text buffer was bad. But yeah, like, programming has been the most gratifying level up. Not that I don't enjoy art or music, but I don't know, like, I think for me, getting better at programming fundamentally shifts your space of problem solving and thinking and the way you view things in general. Whereas getting it better at art, yeah, I can notice more details. Yeah, my sense of perception for things is much more wider and granular, but I don't feel that transformed by it. Or getting better at music composition or production, yeah, I get better at it, but I don't feel wildly different. Yeah, I don't know. It's very cool. It's very cool. But it takes effort, like all things. Okay, so where were we at? So we're making a terrain painter. We have this terrain setup. We have the material that we're gonna be the terrain material we're gonna be modifying. This terrain texture. We have these controls. Cool. And then let's start defining some cool stuff here. So for example, within here, let's start describing our shaders. Normal. I think, like, okay, here's another thing to describe this whole idea. I feel like with art and like artistic ventures like music, you're not trying to get the best at it. Like, there's no there's a skill ceiling, but ultimately you have like your own style, right? That defines you, and you kind of start defining as you work on it, right? And the more time you spend on it, the more you start approaching towards your style, and the more what you intend to communicate versus what you actually communicate becomes closer and closer, right? So there's like this asymptotic line that your skill approaches with these artistic mediums. Whereas like programming, the more I learn, the more I don't know. The more I learn, the more I realize I don't know stuff. So I get better, and then I see, oh, there's a whole new skill ceiling, and we start getting better there, and then, oh, there's a whole new space. In fact, it's not even linear like that. It's like you start traveling, and you get to this node, and then there's like, oh, there's a bunch of other paths we can go through, and we go through this path and learn something, and maybe we can come back to here and explore this path instead, or we can keep going down this path. Like, it's filled with so many different rabbit holes, and it's cool, and I love it, and it's super sick. And then you start seeing connections between certain things, like, oh, there's actually connections here. I decided to do some web dev, And then this is like learning graphics stuff, like graphics APIs. But actually, there's a connection between them because there's WebGL and there's overlaps. And it's not like anything you did was useless, because knowledge you got over here could apply over here. Like, it just makes you a better, more well-rounded person. And it's like, it's so cool. And it's you start having this fog of war thing where as you grow in knowledge, certain paths that were previously foggy for you, like over here, there's like this fog of war. But by going through this path, all of a sudden that fog of war disappears, and now you can start exploring stuff there that you previously thought you just couldn't do, that you're just too dumb to do it. Like graphics programming, I thought I was just too dumb, but then, you started doing little stuff. I did a little thing in GameMaker, and then I started doing some stuff in Unity, and then I started doing stuff for work, and then all of a sudden these new pathways started opening up that previously seemed unattainable. It's so freaking cool, man. Oh my goodness, dude. I used to be scared I thought programming would be so boring and I was going to hate it, but it was like a necessary evil to make a game I want to make. And instead it's turned into this very beautiful experience where I just find myself discovering new things that are really cool and enjoying the process of getting there. And then all of a sudden, doing things that are hard, that I used to think were very hard, becomes something fun to do. Not because it's easier, but because you start enjoying the journey itself. It's super cool. I love it, man. Anyways, what were we doing? We were doing something, weren't we? Yeah, we're Googling right now. We're doing some Googling. Well, actually, we're going to define some shader constants. That's what we're going to do. Control. How many different textures do you want to support? That's a real question. Tile 1 or tile 0. Oh my goodness, I can't type today. But yeah, it's I think that whole spiel I gave kind of reminds me of this documentary I used to watch. I used to be so obsessed with this in high school, and it's a documentary called Jiro Dreams of Sushi, and it's following this 3 Michelin star sushi chef, whose level of quality is just unmatched anywhere else, or at least that's how it's framed. And you see this documentary crew, not even crew, you just see this person following this 3 Michelin star chef throughout his regular routine, and it's surprisingly mundane and not that crazy. And it's just this man doing the same thing he's done for years, decades at this point, continuously. The same methodical routine. But what's special is the fact that he's been committed to that for so long. And because he's done that, he's been able to attain these new heights. And even at 90 or some 90-something years old, spending a lifetime committing and dedicating himself to his work, he still sees that there's more room for growth. That despite his decades of doing this and the sacrifices he's made to his craft, there's still more. There's still a horizon that's beyond, and there's something super beautiful about that. And I used to romanticize that idea a lot, and I spent, even personally, to get better at my craft, there's been a lot of sacrifices I've made, and I have reaped some benefits from it. But I think only now am I starting to understand kind of what he's saying, and it's not even because I have not done that same sacrifice to that same extent. Sacrifice in quotations, but it's I'm starting to understand that beauty of chasing a goal you never quite attain. Like, it's very cliche. You see it as like a theme across a bunch of different types of media, but it's one thing to hear it told, and it's another thing to experience it and to take joy in it. Play Dave the Diver. That's what that reminded me of with the sushi guy. Dave, someone brought that up a while ago, and I think it's on my wish list. Dave the Diver looks awesome though. It looks like such a wacky experience, but I didn't know it had some profound stuff like that. Because my perception of Dave the Diver was just it's a very wacky game. Well, there's nothing wrong with it, right? But I didn't know it had themes like that either. Maybe that's something I should test out, actually, or not test out, give a look into. A brush map, that's a good term for this. In fact, I should change this to brush map. But yeah, there's oh man. I gotta head out for now, but I'm gonna stay tuned and talk next time. All good. You go do your thing, man. Yeah, I'm just here to do some work and, you know, provide information, knowledge, or just background noise as you guys go about your day. But I appreciate your company. I appreciate your talk here, and I wish you not even the best of luck. I just hope you enjoy your journey into getting to programming and doing games, because there is a lot of wonders there. A lot of wonders to be had. Can't wait for the game? Yeah, me too, buddy. I can't wait to do it either. Also, we're going to be doing public beta tests as well once I get it to a good point. We used to do it a bunch, of like weekly or bi-weekly. We're going to start that up again somewhat once we get the main stuff implemented. So stay tuned in the Discord. Probably going to only announce it in the Discord to keep it very small. But yeah. Hope you have a good one, man. Hope you have a good one. Texture. Okay, and then let's start looking into this stuff. Unity. Get input events in editor. Event.current key. Okay, interesting. Interesting. Well, we don't need click. Oh, but yeah, it's still a thing. Okay. Event 34. So what? Can we just do if event, not keyboard event. I need a mouse event. Let's see here. Is mouse current button. So there's two things you have to do. So if we want to be very bare bones, we could just listen for the mouse click on the terrain and do a change there. Also, we have to make it so when we click, we don't actually grab the object, but instead we suspend it and say, hey, we're not going to actually make the mouse interact with the scene. Instead, we're going to be doing something specific here. while this game object is selected. But first we can start with this and then go from here. I don't know why I said current button equals 0. Is mouse... Oh! Key code key. The key is pressed. Event current keyed. It's gonna be aha! What about mouse down events though? That's the thing. That would work for normal key inputs, but we're looking for mouse inputs. In editor, mouse inputs. In 3D viewport, that's exactly what we're looking for. I was able to do it without... And they're not doing an update. I was going to do update polling, but it seems like there's actually a specific lifetime event for this. So we can change this from update to what? On scene. I don't think that should change anything because they're doing stuff reflectively. How they're doing things. And then what? E dot event type. Drag exited, drag performed. Mouse down. Okay. Move up. So I think this should be the first frame while the mouse is down, and then you have subsequent ones from when the mouse is being dragged and then when it's released. Okay, easy. And then we can do our ray casting from here. And then we have to have something else that suspends Unity editor, suspend mouse in 3D viewport when object selected. Okay, maybe that's not specific enough terminology. Unity editor, stop mouse. No, not hiding the mouse. Stop mouse, not stop it. Pause mouse in editor. Okay. This is a bug report. Never mind, so it's not a feature someone is triggering inadvertently. This might be dead in the water. Let's see. I have hope. We'll just start with this. Couple things we need to do. Let's first do the raycast. That's raycast hit. Ray equals, and that's, how do we get the Unity editor 3D viewport raycast mouse and scene view. Yeah, I should probably say scene view. To start raycasting. Yeah, very helpful. But just press the button, dude. Yeah, no. Yeah, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Last active scene view, camera. Yes. Precisely what I'm looking for. Oh my goodness, did it just autofill for me? Screen point array. Screen point array, yup. E mouse point. Jeez. Thank you. The rare AIW. Usually I hate the autofill because it just causes problems for me, but this is actually good. Okay, and then we just do physics hit raycast. And then if it's hit, we do stuff. Yeah, that sounds good to me. So, or we can do this and then early return and then instead do the logic afterwards. So we have the hit, int 2, no. I feel like I implemented it into at some point. Dust Manager, yeah, I did. I made it a private struct, but you know what? We might make it public. I know there's a SIMD optimized one in the mathematics package. I just don't want to use it. Not for any particular reason, I just don't. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we're just gonna have to move this whole class out of here. Yeah, thank you. There's already a ton of usages of you. Yeah, you have a lot. You have enough utility where you weren't being in a separate, probably a separate file, but we're not gonna do that now. And now you shouldn't be mad anymore. Z, I believe we're using. Yeah. Oh yeah, we use a new keyword, don't we? Because we're special like that. So I'll go. I'm glad you enjoy the ASMR, the keyboard sounds. I've been debating having a stream where I just don't talk, or I talk very softly and just do this, but I don't know. I've been on the fence about it. I don't know if I want to commit to it or not. Either way, I appreciate having you here, C-Noodle. You have a good one. Sleep well. Get your 8 hours, and hopefully enjoy your Saturday tomorrow. Have good things planned, and enjoy your evening. Until next time, ta-ta. Where are we at here? The integer, we can't just cast. I should make an overload for this. In fact, yeah, I'm just gonna make an overload for this guy. I think you can continue like you always doing. Your voice plus microphone is kind of relaxing already. All right, I'm glad. All right, see you. You have a good one. Rest well. Okay, nice integer. Okay. And now we can use our new constructor here. Instead of doing the casting here, we can just pass it as is. All right, so we calculated our index. Perfect. And now we just have to... Ooh, we have a problem here. We have to deal with brush sizes. So not only is it needed to paint a brush onto a surface, we also have to get all the indices around that within a certain radius. Ooh, that's gonna be fun. I already did code for that before. I may have to make a generalized solution for that. We're gonna ignore brush size though. That's not a big concern. Right now, what we need to do is do control map dot set pixel and then we're gonna set it with our brush position XY, and then the color we're gonna use is going to be our current, where is it? Current, yeah, current selected texture, it's integer. We need to sample this texture. Okay, we're gonna do this. Because this is an index. Brush map. No map. Get pixel. No. This is going to be a Y index of 0. And it's going to be current. There we go. And then we're going to set apply. So cool. On mouse down, we do a ray cast. We get the index from there. We set the current pixel to whatever is set here. And then we probably want to have a custom thing to make selecting the texture easy. Like instead of inputting a digit, we actually show the textures, and then by pressing on it, it just interprets the index from there. Something like that. In fact, we're gonna hijack the current control texture on this. And what are we gonna use? What are we gonna do? Oh yeah, we did this guy last stream. Yeah, he's cool. So this is gonna be green, and then another one of like this, and then I don't know, another color like this. Features, terrain painter, brush, palette, .png. The terrain painter is our new thing that we're using, and then we're gonna be selecting map projection, And then our control texture that we're going to be using as well, we have to define this now. So let's do that. Can we just make a new texture here? Or do I have to actually make a texture? I guess we might have to do that. Yeah, I don't see a thing here to make a texture. Okay, that's easy though. 1024. I believe is the dimension we're using. Actually, what dimensions are we using for this? Control texture 256. Yeah, I knew it was nowhere this big. Let's start setting our textures here. Cool, we have a control map. And let's switch this back to our, so we can see how this looks here. Yeah, they're still being hijacked. Oh, what happened there? What happened there? What happened? Why is this game removed? Yeah, what's happening there? Why is this game removed? It's just saying goodbye to my texture. It's saying, nope, smell you later. You don't get to have a, a brush map. Let's put that brush map in here. A brush size, one's fine. Current texture, let's make it 2. Interesting. And you have to allow it to have read-write access. And no filtering. I wonder if there's a way we can override this. Well, first of all, on-scene isn't being called. I thought it would be, but it's not. I think that's more for on-inspector events. But we're not doing that. We're just doing Unity lifetime events in editor. Null reference here. Interesting. Okay, we might have to do a custom editor and not just rely on inspector stuff. Or on Draw Gizmos, maybe? Maybe. Anything being drawn here? Nope. Let's see. Let's make sure that this is happening. Come on. This execute edit mode, yep. Ooh, what if we draw a circle? That's a cool idea. Yeah, I'm not seeing that at all. I wonder if I just need to move this onto a different game object, maybe. I actually wonder, would that change things? Because maybe it's the terrain thing is fighting for control. But if I were to paste it onto here, and all the values are there, yeah. Nothing being debug logged though. Okay, let's find out. Let's find out what we can do here. So maybe our lifetime adventure is not working good here. Control map. Also, we're not setting. Start isn't being called. Can I do something here? Can I like... Yeah, there's scene view, and then what can we do? Last, current drawing scene, set. Repaint all? No. Add overlay, clear user. Destroy immediate. Has open instances. Is there anything here for suspending? If it's open, find any object. Current drawing scene view. Last active scene view. Alright, we have the scene view now. Is there anything we could do to it? Pivot, orthographic, camera position, camera viewport. I I wonder if someone's made a game that just is the unique, like they make a game in the editor itself with the windows. This would be really cool and meta. In 2D mode, is rotation locked? That's these are two-way properties. Okay, so we can set that stuff. Draw gizmos, scene lighting, show grid. Can we lock it? Docked, maximize, position, has focus. Overlay canvas. Maybe that's how you work with, you overlay the canvas. Save changes message. Alright, frame selected, look at, destroy, align with view, fix negative size, look at direct, move to view, reset camera settings. Close, focus, repaint, show, begin, discard changes, no, remove, notification. Maybe this one. Interesting. Maybe this could work. Nothing's happening. Even with this script running an editor. Nothing's going on here. And this is happening what on? Let's try to do an update again. But I might have to look into actually finding out when and where this to get this event callback. Yeah, here it's happening every single frame. And it's happening once I interact with this in any way, shape, or form. That's when update's being called. And it's happening at line 42. So somewhere here, like... type is null for some reason. Interesting. Yep. Still happening. Oh, we don't need this turn anymore. We do have this one though. Okay, let's see here. Oh, it was. You can use the new input system from within editor window code as well. Oh, interesting. Interesting. That's for new inputs, and that's with editor window. Maybe the issue is I'm trying to do this in component. Oh, Buddy did this on mobile. Oh, with custom editor. Okay. Yeah, custom editor. No avoiding it. Oh well. There's gonna be some pain we're probably gonna encounter. Probably with serialization and changes to the base component. Oh well, we can't avoid it. We have to go this route, it seems. Yep. And then what he used? Void on scene. Yeah, this makes more sense. Now this event has to go here. And then what are we gonna do? Make this a partial public class. Public partial class. Yep. It's like the easiest way to make sure all the data is shared between them. So now they have access even to private data. How do we make this accessible? I forgot how we deal with this. There's like a thing. Cannot find declaration. I forgot. I haven't done a custom editor in a while. It's what was it? Source or target? Yeah, target. Yeah. None of this casting is working. Component. This is redundant. This is redundant. No, I don't want to do the fix the AI button. I'm good. Yeah, what's the... I know there's a thing here. An editor. What field is it? M targets. This has to have a generic, right? No, it just has a Unity object. Here, that's weird though, because some variables are accessible to it. Like, I guess not. Control map's not. Brush map. None of this is accessible to it. Or maybe we did it backwards. Maybe we should have done... this. This might have been the move, actually. Because then this guy should have... No, it's not going to work. Yeah, it's not going to work. I try to be cheeky. But it didn't work. Still partial class. I forgot how you do it. This cast doesn't work. Why can't we? Let me do the dangerous thing. I know what I'm about. Unity? Yeah, Unity, Shandu. Sadly, Unity. Not sadly. I actually think Unity's pretty decent, but some of the things are limited, and that's why we're doing custom editor stuff, because you encounter a thing where you go, you know what? The tool I have at my disposal does not do exactly what I want it to do, or has limitations, so we gotta go off-road. The big thing is I've forgotten how to do custom editor stuff. Like, I did a bunch back in the day. Let me open up a previous project, actually, that has, I know for a fact, editor stuff. Where's Crimson Crown? That game. My beloved that we'll come back to. But also, welcome, Shandu. Hope you enjoy your stay here. If you're curious about what we're working on, there's at the very top, we talked a lot more in depth about it. But basically, we're making our own terrain painter tool in Unity because Unity has a limit of 3, and for what we're trying to do, we only need we need much more than that. But we're not doing blending, so we're afforded. We can technically do much more than that. So you work for yourself? Nah, I have a day job. I have a day job doing VR medical stuff and Unity too. I actually enjoy it. I actually do enjoy my day job. And this is what I do in my personal time. Where is Crimson Crown? I'm like looking and not finding. It must be nice. Indie game development, which I am interested. Hey man, the beauty of indie game development is you do it. My day job? No, I'm a Unity developer in my day job. It's just that it's still Unity and C#, but it's in the medical field involving VR. So it's in the field of radiology. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've actually learned it's very cool because working in that field, there's a lot of Unity stuff that you normally don't have to work with for most games. But for our applications, we actually had to learn we had to actually work within them and approach interesting design challenges, which actually opened doors for me with this game and all future games I worked on. Scriptable assets, view, editor. Or is I know there's a custom editor here for base selection. What was it? Traits, I think it's called traits or chips. Traits. Oh, I can't remember. I heard radiology, not sure what they do. You work with computer graphics algorithms since you're close to building research apps. No, it's not for medical students. It's actually used in it's actually used for surgeries and operations and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, it's also used for training for med students, but it's predominantly used in with hospitals across the U.S. Well, real software used to save humans. I know that's crazy, right? I mean, I'm not going to say saving lives, but at the very least, it makes the doctor's life easier because, you know, it's one thing to look at scans and try to imagine what the structure of their, what the structure is like it's another thing to actually see the 3D structure in view and understand, oh, this is where the burnt bones are. These are where the fractures are. This is where these things are. This is how we have the plantar surgery. It's pretty cool. It's actually very cool. When I got hired for this job, I didn't think it was going to be... I kind of took it as like I couldn't get into games. I guess we'll do something in VR medical. And I had a bad experience with VR military work before. So I thought it was going to be something similar, but no, it turned out to be a really amazing experience that has just been giving in terms of knowledge and information. Availability chips. 1 second. Where is this editor scripts? Okay, features. How do you find this job? Just applying. I actually found it through an agency. Oh, we're using file. Let's use file system. There we go. That's gonna be better to work with assets. Yeah, I found the job through an agency, and they hooked me up with the interview. I mean, they didn't hook me up. The agency takes care of the interview and negotiations. I just have to go there, do my stuff, and either get the job or don't get the job. Very fortunate that I got this job. And in full disclosure, like, I was very much underqualified for this type of job. If I'm gonna be real with you, man. And somehow we faked it till we make it. Learned a bunch of stuff from people. It's been really good. Editor, here we go. Item editor. And then what do we do here? We do casting. We cast it. What is the issue? On Inspector GUI. Oh. Oh, ability chip. So that's the issue, is that this is on Scene GUI and it's an editor. It's an editor too. Though I should probably preface this with the old if Unity editor classic and if. There are some nice people in there. Oh yeah, 100%. Takes pay cut. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Experience was the biggest thing. I graduated. I was 6 months unemployed. I just needed a job. All the foundations done. Yeah, honestly, it was really great. I had a guy who kind of showed me the ropes and got me introduced to all these different ideas from object-oriented stuff. Honestly, very big there, and then other practical stuff about software development and cool things like reflection and programming and meta-programming, which is very cool. And they even taught me some graphics, GPU stuff as well. And then just by the nature of work, there's a bunch of rabbit holes I end up diving into that got me better at dealing with this stuff and working with this stuff. And as well as working on personal projects in tandem. I've never been just working my day job and that's it. It's usually my day job and then I have my game company that I'm working on in tandem. So it's like 8 hours of programming and then another 4 hours of programming. But dude, I grew so fast. Like, programming used to be my weakest thing, and art and music was my strong suits. And then now it's just grown like crazy. And you only grow like that when you're just grinding, doing a lot of work, doing a lot of projects, both games, and then also a thing that has made me grow a lot has been working on my own game engine as well, or a game framework, I guess. It all adds up, man. The people you know, the projects you work on, the experience you have implementing stuff, it's all connected, all connected. This is very weird. Public override on inspector. Oh, there's a base. No. Do I need to do override? That'd be weird if I need to do that. Yeah, that's odd. And I don't need to specify that it's editor. Okay, public class of type. Oh, editor for child class. There's no child classes in our case. We're not doing inheritance here. Yeah, that's something I've quickly grown to learn is that and multiple inheritance is the evilest thing in the world. It's absolutely terrible. Every time I've done multiple inheritance, it's always been bad. It's been terrible. Ability chip. ID edit mode. Dude, am I going crazy? On Inspector GUI. Like, has something fundamentally changed in Unity since I last... between this version versus this current version? Target. Let's decompile this and take a look. Yeah, there's objects. But for whatever reason, this just doesn't allow explicit casting. So maybe it's something they enforced. Oh, you know what? Maybe it's because Crimson Crown allows unsafe code, and we didn't allow that here. So do you have to do what? Do you have to do target is... No, it doesn't even allow it because there's no... Ooh. That's gross. Very interesting. Okay, we have to do it the other way around then. We have to get the serialized object, which I really wanted to avoid. Yeah, let me actually Google this. Unity custom editor target casting not working. Yeah, if... Yeah, serialized object. I hate that, but I guess we need to do that. So instead of doing this, serialized object. Oh, what? You can wrap it like that? Okay, you know what? We're gonna say we're dumb. Unity editor, because maybe my version of Unity doesn't work anymore. Editor, Unity custom editor example. We're not using 6, but I'm GUI. Yeah. All this funk. Oh, I know what's also happening. The custom editor is for scriptable objects. This is old. This is what is JavaScript? What? I'm sorry, what? Dog, excuse me. This is ages ago. This is forever ago. All a gamer wants to do is just cast his paint on this terrain. And get hooked into these event functions. Okay, let's see if I could just do... Oh, wait 1 second. Can we just do this potentially? It's gonna be jank. I'm not gonna like it. But for now, to bypass this restriction, can we just do this? Maybe. And then we can just do, on all these things, component. Brush size. Very odd, because brush size should be a publicly accessible. Unless this isn't going to compile because it's a partial class. That'd be dumb, but is that it? Like, assuming this is the correct component, it's very weird that this is not being detected as, it can't resolve these symbols. Yeah, very strange. Oh. Oh, when did this happen? Oh, that's probably the issue. Oh my goodness. It was something so dumb. Okay, well, is this gonna work? Please tell me it's gonna work. Yes, it works. Okay, no, it's not a Unity version thing. It was just me being dumb. It happens. And now this works as intended. Okay, beautiful. Oh yeah, we need an end if. Yeah, I was so confused. Yeah, it was a mutual dependency, a circular dependency, so they couldn't compile ever, so that makes sense. Yeah, I really wanted to avoid using serialized properties. Okay, now this should hopefully work now. We should be goated. Can only be used in draw gizmos. Oh yeah, we still have. Yeah, we don't need that. I forgot. This is not an on draw gizmo function anymore. It's not readable. Okay, that's an easy fix. Read or write. Yep. Okay. Now going back to here. Are we gonna work now? No, unsupported graphics format for set pixel operations. Yeah, that's always a thing too. I forgot what we did with that. I think we set this to a. We set this to what do we do? No crunching. Small pixel. There's no formatting to a, yeah, there we go. In fact, this also has to be that same format as well. Uncompressed. Okay, is anything happening at all? I'm not seeing anything happen. Anything happening here? No textures, colors being painted. So mouse press is being detected. And it's cool that this is being called multiple times. Now the thing is, it's not drawing to the control texture. Also, the control texture isn't being overwritten. Which is interesting. So let's do this instead. Let's where's our terrain editor? Where's also our projection shader? Yeah, it's map projection shader. And then we have our control. We're gonna make a new thing called control map and use that instead. So we can just explicitly see this thing we're working with. This doesn't even need to be here. We can get rid of that. And then change this from control to control map. Boom, boom, boom. Not being drawn. Yeah, I'm seeing no pixels be colored. But clearly something is happening because it's paint editor. Here we go. In fact, let's even make it so this material is let's make a button. GUI editor, button. What? Editor, GUI, utility, button, or no, layout, button. Drop down button, but I'm looking just for a regular button, dude. There's toggle, there's property field, toggle left. No regular button. Enum pop-up, draw rect. Int label. I believe there's got to be a... Is it GUI layout? Button, there we go. And it's just gonna call inner component terrain painter. Yeah, no, we're just gonna do call this guy a knit. Do I have to make you public actually? I guess I do. Let's try this out. Interesting. I'm not seeing our oh, we have to draw the regular inspector, don't we, at some point? Yeah. Yeah, draw default inspector. Yeah. In fact, it's kind of a miracle that we've even been able to see this, because it shouldn't be visible. And also, I just realized this. Let's see if this works now. Yeah, the button events do not work now. That makes sense. Okay. So this logic is going to happen asynchronously. But I think it should be fine. I think the only thing I need to do is move this over here. And then make this and then rename this to like source. Easy. And then this should be good to go. We should be back to working now. It should be just back to working. Uh-oh. Do we never set this guy? I guess we don't. Yeah, we never did set him, did we? See, the press is happening now. The data isn't being written on here. So let's see if hit's even happening. And we should make this only raycast hit the terrain too. Do terrains have specific... There's a ground, but there's no specific layer for it. It may be worth having. Because I think there's other colliders that we might be... I mean, probably not, honestly, but still better that than the alternative. Oh? Has this actually been working? And we just not realized it? Okay, we do that. And then we go into the terrain. No. That wouldn't produce... Would it produce this? This collider, that's not this guy. Yeah, we're not seeing anything on him. So this is just weird noise then. Let me see what's actually going on under the hood here. Okay, now we're gonna see if this is actually doing what we think it's doing. Yeah, it's saying hit paint. Are we going the right method here? We set a pixel specifically. Current select the texture. Yeah, that's from the brush map. Yeah. Okay. And we source control map apply, yeah. So you modify the pixel and then we set it. This is very weird. Because theoretically, if I clear this, yeah, you see the mouse press, paint, or hit and then paint. Oh, brush size. I mean, that shouldn't impact anything. That's a dud value. Yeah, nothing. The control map texture is not being impacted at all. And that's all we're rendering right now. Let's also make this a little bit more open. ERAW type mouse drag. So not only clicking but also dragging is going to be impacting this. It's not a copy either. wonder if control map's being overridden somehow. That'd be crazy, but that can make sense. Let's check. Sampler control map, yeah. Now if we look at the map projection, we can just set this to. Okay, yeah, we see our changes here. Okay, so it is working. It was just not being set, I think. Also, the value is just wrong, I think. Okay, the indexing is wrong, but yes, it's working. Yes! It's working. Yes! We got it. Oh, okay, let's just fix this real quick. So I guess the this is not working as intended. I think it's just flipped the X and X. Yeah, I guess that's an X instead. That's odd, but nope, still wrong. And now inverted too. That's very weird. Okay. Yeah, this should not be the case. Recast. Let's make sure we're doing things right. X, Y coordinate, yep. Let me go to the dust manager because it has the things that are most analogous to this. Where do we set texture? Excuse me. Well, we also do wrapping too, but that's not going to be the case here. Oh, you know what? Maybe this is going to be. I think we have to world space divided by the size of this can, because this is what 2. Yeah, it's 256. So it's not going to quite work the same. Oh, okay, I understand now. I understand. So there's just some error of math. That's easy to fix though. So you have the world space index that theoretically can go from 0 to whatever we have here. What we really need to do is have it be from converted from oh, how does the math work here? How do we do the math? It's super simple, but I'm trying to remember or think it through. There's like a couple different dimensions. What dimension are we dealing with here? The dimension is 128 for this over a dimension of how much? Okay, 1024, 1024. And we're spreading this 256 across that. So 1024 times the dimension of this sprite, which is 256. And that should have the corrected coordinates now, I believe. Nothing is happening. Let's go within 256. Weird. That should just work. Oh, interesting. This texture isn't... Wait, what? The control map texture hasn't been saved. Like it's... We're not saving to this? Ooh, interesting. Now I'm curious how this serialization is gonna work, because this should be interesting, because this should be the same here, and then this is do we have instance or no? A map, maps, no. Yeah, we just lost that functionality just completely. But aside from bitmaps, what other things exist, or what other settings exist on this? A virtual texture only? Nope. No swizzling whatsoever. A normal texture. A single channel, no. RGB 832, yep. Not that that should impact anything too drastically. And all we changed was this calculation here. If we go back to this, interesting that this isn't... The changes weren't being saved to the texture. Oh my goodness, you still see this being impacted though. Across... Oh my... No, that's the control map. I was gonna say, like, that's crazy if it's actually working. No, it's not. That's so weird. Okay. But now we have these changes that we're seeing appear here. by just triggering, they just changing the, oh, that's so freaking weird, dude. Okay. Let's recompile, include this. And the thing that's so weird is that it's not being saved to the texture. Like when I open up, you don't see these changes on there at all. That's so bizarre. I wonder if the division operations are happening as I intended to. Yeah, they seem to. Integral promotion's working as intended, but I don't trust it. I never trust integral promotion. I'm so curious about this. Oh, you know what? Maybe this also has something to play with this. Because we don't need this execute in editor mode anymore. We don't need that. That's not required anymore. Not that it should really have any impact, but this isn't instance, right? It shouldn't be. It should be like one. Maybe that's what's happening, is that this is not projecting the correct material. Oh, that might be what's happening. It's getting... Oh. That doesn't explain this then, though, because it should still be overriding or writing to the data stored in here, like terrain textures, control map. It's defined there. Brush size, brush map. Interesting. And the material, it's going to be making a copy of... It's always going to make a copy. That's okay. It's a material instance. That's what I'm seeing here. So even if I was making a change, it's not going to actually... So instead of... Okay. Well, this needs to happen as well, but... Oh, and that's why the texture isn't being saved, because it's a copy. Oh my goodness, it makes sense now. Oh. Is there a way to change this where the terrain doesn't make a new instance? Draw instance. It's not happy with that. It does not like that at all. But that's who cares? It's fine. Yeah. This is so weird. What's the issue here? Oh, I'm missing one of these joints. I mean, I don't need it, but whatever, it's fine for now. And for some reason, that didn't work this time. Let me get something actually. Terrain. Can we force this to use a single instance? Component. No. Terrain. Material. Not spot material property block. I'll take GI materials. GI materials. Set neighbors. Set spot material. As a template, but I want to get the actual material itself. Is there any place where I can just say, you know what, screw you, we're forcing you to use a specific material instance? Keep unused. As a template, render texture, set neighbors, LOD bias, method copy splat material, yeah. Maybe that's what it is. It's just splat material. That's property block. And I don't want a property block. I want to get the actual... material type, built-in standard, material template, set splat material property block. What's a material property block? What is this? Is there a constructor for this? It's a sealed class. I can't even use it. Or can I? Oh, it seems fine. So, suppose at the structure, matrix array, set material. No, matrix array. Is there any... way that I can just clear, set integer, set float. So there's just like a normal material almost. Like it has all the same properties of a normal material. Yeah, these are just properties you can set on there. Yeah, that's all this is. It's just a bunch of setters. But that's a material. Okay, but it's not the material. It's a property. Okay. Dude, trying to work with this terrain thing is dude, it's terrible. It's so set in this specific way of doing things. I guess their intention was for anyone to do what I'm doing, but I guess here we are doing it anyways. Any material here at all? Anything I can do here? Come on, buddy. Give me something. Where does all this material type? No, that's obsolete anyways, too. Base map distance. Bunch of properties. Material template. Render texture. Oh my goodness. So there's no way to avoid this. This is just what it's gonna do. Yeah, I might actually just be better off writing my own thing entirely from scratch than trying to interface with Unity's built-in. But I have to deal with collision. Okay, this is working. Oh, do I have to just click on the... Do I just have to click? One second. Let's bring this back. Okay, we might be onto something here. I think I have to have this component active, and then I can draw. divided by... Oh, don't you make this a float? To preserve precision and then the final product. Gosh, that's gross, but that might be what's happening here. Yeah, because it's getting flattened down to 0. That's what's happening. Oh, that's so scuffed. That's actually probably the issue here. That's probably the issue. It was that. Oh my goodness. I guess not. Or my array of weird casting stuff is just not playing nice. Let's try to make this a little bit more pretty. Let's do... Because these are natively floats. Let's do the conversion here. Instead of all this garbage. This actual garbage. So much garbage. Yeah, I forgot about the fact that that's it. We're dealing with integers. Okay, so hopefully we do the float conversion at the very end of these calculations. There we go. And then we just have to do we have to correct the offset here. 256 minus these values. And again, we don't trust integral promotion. We don't trust it. I still hate that we're not saving this value. Like, I don't trust it if we go into run play mode. Oh, now it's not working. It was working before. Oh, it's up there. It's offset. Why is there an offset? That's strange. This value. We're so close. So close. Alright, let's just trust integral promotion for right now and 256. Because the assumption that we're starting at 256 and indexing back from there, right? There should not be any offsets because this value is just world space index. Oh, it's not scaling normally. And again, it's not being saved here. But it's present here in this material. That's so weird. And if I change the brush to this one. Really? Oh, because the index isn't. I forgot. There's like a custom index. It's 32 by 32, but our custom thing isn't. Yeah, I got you. Got you. Where's our brush? Canvas size. You need to be 32. So that way the index actually matches appropriately. And now I make this. That's brush size. There we go, different colors. Nice. Now we just have to make this actually go appear over the yeah, this is not scaling properly. Just have to rethink this. 256 by 256. The terrain is a size of 1,200 by 1,000. Like if we have a game object like right here, let's do that real quick. 3D object sphere. Oh my goodness, why are you so big? Yeah, you should not be in the quad either. You should be like, world space. Yeah, it's 1,200 something. Yeah. So we're not wrong. This is the correct size. It's in world space. We get a coordinate hit position that should be in world space. Physics raycast. There's no difference in left mouse or right mouse. It's just mouse. That's not great. Oh well. It works for now. Yeah, this is super weird. Hit point.x times 1024, or divided by 1024, because we're assuming it's within it's a world space, and we get a normalized value from 0 to 1 of that value, and then we resize it to match. We multi-scale it to the size of our texture, unless, oh, 1 second, is our texture even correct? No, it is 256. That is the correct size of the texture. Though it would be better to just make this guaranteed the correct size of the texture by getting, like, I don't know, source dot control map dot dimensions. Any, what? Yeah, width. In fact, size is going to be control map dot width. No, not size. Width. Okay. Because maybe for whatever reason the internal texture size is not the same as this. That'd be dumb, but can't discount it. And then we can start working on making a nice editor. Yep. Not happy here, are we? Oh, we are happy. Just offset like crazy again. The X coordinate's correct. The Z is just what's off. Oh, because I see now. Do I see? Yeah, so okay. The origin is like here, right? This is origin, world space origin. But texture origin's actually up there. This is actually kind of weirdly working along with it. Is it just some editor thing? It might just be an editor thing. Oh, you know what? I think it might be an editor thing, actually. I think that she lies here. Screen. Viewpoint array. I think that might be better, actually. No. Nope. Yeah, the offset's not consistent. It's not consistent. And it fluctuates. It fluctuates with our perspective. Which is the odd thing. Because this should just be a world space thing, and it's acting not like a world space thing. So I'm actually super curious about this now. Why this isn't yeah, in fact, let's get the raw data for last position. Gizmo. Draws. Gizmos draws. Draw sphere. Nope. Nope, nope, and nope. You're gonna be like a size of 2, and you're gonna be last position. And in our terrain editor, every time we get a hit, we'll just pass that position there too. And see just exactly where is this raycast hitting? So yeah, the raycast is most certainly not. Most certainly not working as intended. And in fact, yeah, it's just straight up not working correctly. In fact, for it to work properly, I have to be like aligned as closely to. Okay, so we found the issue. Raycast isn't working. Last active scene camera. And I'm not even sure how we go about that. Unity, raycast, scene view. Is there anything else? Any other articles? How to draw a raycast in scene view. Screen point array, yep. So maybe mouse position is just not the correct thing we want to use. It's a vector 2 though, so I don't see how that's that much crazy. Raw type. Delta, no. Is mouse is key. Yeah. We have to normalize it within the bounds of the view. No. No. Yeah, no, none of these are, that doesn't apply. Okay. Screen point array, that's what we're doing already. There's all the stuff we're doing already. Interesting, you can subscribe onto Editor GUI. Okay. To world ray. That's what we're looking for. One second. Is this a smoking bullet we're looking for? The smoking gun? The key to our success? Maybe not. Nope, same freaking issue. Oh wait a second. This actually might be correct. It's just that I'm inverting it here, which we don't need to do anymore. If my understanding is correct. Oh my goodness. That's what we needed. This is exactly what we needed. Oh my, finally. 3 hours just trying to find the correct ray conversion calculation. Yes. Yes, finally. And now we can paint things. Oh my goodness, dude. And the controls not being saved. Still weird about that. I don't get it. No matter how many times you copy the material instance, it should still be doing the thing, but okay, whatever, it's fine. Sweet, and now we can start associating these colors with a specific tile or grass or whatever. Let's go to init. So how do we want to do this? We could do brush map. No. No, no, no. We do terrain textures. Yes. In fact, I should just do, screw it, to make it programmatic for no, stop. Autocomplete, you suck. For, thank you. Okay, there. And then we can do this. No static properties. We're just gonna be dumb about it because it's fine. Tile. Terrain textures I. Cool. And then in here we have we're changing this. No more splats. We're instead using let's close all these because we're not using them anymore. Tile, yep. Through 4. Two, 3, 4. Nice. And then we're gonna do things different. We're not doing this alert business. Instead, yeah, none of this business. No sampling. Screw that. Now we're gonna do we also need to have a float. Oh wait, 1 second. No, wait, 1 second. Oh, we have to have the how are we gonna just connect these two? We have a brush map, we have the tiles. We have the control map, we get the color from there. Now you have to somehow get the color, go from color to tile. How do you want to go about this? 'Cause I'd want to do an array. Iterate. Like ideally we'd want these samplers lined up at like an array, but we don't do that. They're all explicitly in there. So it would be better to have this, it would actually be better to have this sampler or this control map be like a value. Like could we change this control map to, instead of to encode it in just a single value that represents index, like a super small value from I guess it doesn't matter because you're not going to be looking at this very often. But it's going to be kind of wasteful for the control map to be like... Yeah, no more brush map then. Or... Terrain painter. Like we'd actually do like set like a slot of, I don't know, 10 maybe. Brush. Current selected texture. Yeah, we sampled a brush map, but honestly, better idea. We just do current selected texture. We just do like a vector. And have it be source.current texture divided by, and then like have an upper limit, or yeah, like 10. That's something that our vector 4s don't have. Like a, you know what? Screw it. We're gonna make a utility for this. Vector utilities. Public static. Yeah, it's a new constructor basically. So, what? Vector 4 new, and then take it a float value. Yeah. Like that should just be a thing that exists normally. And I'm surprised it doesn't, because it's so convenient. Are we getting angry about this? What's going on? Oh, they have the same signal. Oh no, they have different return types though. Are you for real? That's dumb. Now I have to do this stupid thing. Still same signature. Can't you do static this? Like... Can you do static extensions? Actually, let me look at this. C# static class extension. Yeah, they require instance. That's dumb. Public static vector for I see now why they... No. They could have just made it a multiple constructors. That's just dumb. That's just dumb. It's actually just dumb. Wow. You know, honestly, I'm just gonna do this for now because I don't like these. This doesn't. The names don't. This doesn't work well. Like, I want to be able to access it through the Vector 3 and Vector 4 classes. So it's either 0.0. Dude, I'm thinking more about just doing that texture atlas, honestly. Real talk, thinking about just doing the texture atlas. It seems way more performant and simple. I mean, not sure how much more, but compared to what we're gonna do here. Denominator has to be a float, or just to maintain precision. In fact, we just could have done this. And now we have this value instead. And then in this terrain projection shader, what do we find ourselves with now? We have a control value. And then we could just do explicit stuff. I don't like this at all either, but equals 0.1. Equals text 2D dot normal UV. Yep. Yeah, I'm just gonna hate this. I'm actually just gonna straight up hate this, dude. And because we have explicit fields, I can't just do a for loop. I have to actually copy and paste this like a jabron. And then times 10, so we can have it back to indexable space. And then we don't have to do these decimal comparisons. We could just do 1. So at least it's human. It's super easy. You're thinking about it in terms of index. either be terrible or awesome. Yep, error. If statement conditional expressions must evaluate to a scalar. C dot float. And then where's our terrain? And then we just set it. Things are not happy here. Okay, let's take this out of debug mode. I'm sorry? Do we make these cached properties? Or do we not set them correctly? Let's check. Tile, capital T tile, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then let's go back to our terrain editor. Yep. Though I gotta say, man, the more we do this, the more I'm thinking just do texture atlas. Honestly, like I can deal with making this look better or whatever later, or usable, but I'd rather just do the texture atlas thing. Like, how hard would that actually be? Because then we just have to have one sampler. We don't have to do all this crap. We don't. All these conditionals, no. We can just move the sampler down. Like, honestly, how hard would that be, actually? Not very, I don't think. Like what? So 128 by 128. And then what are the textures we want to have at our disposal? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. That's like 8 textures already. That's a lot. Let me think about this. Let's just start with these guys and go from here. Okay, just grab this. Oh my goodness, does it remember that it was in tiled mode? That'd be crazy if Aseprite does that. Okay, it's not. Yeah. No, it's like in tile mode by default. Does it remember the settings per PNG? That's crazy. It's crazy that Aseprite moves like that. Except for this one. This one it didn't remember. But still cool that it did at all. Okay, and then let's do... Like, honestly... Like, yeah, I know it's inefficient. I know we want to pack it properly. For right now, this is just going to be easier, though. Let's just do a height of 32. And then let's, like, do 512. Like, we have a ton of different sprites there. A ton. Make even variable length. And then set it to tile level 1 tile atlas.png. And then change this to instead be one thing, and it's gonna be called tile atlas. And then maybe another field of like how many different tiles we can have, but that's, who cares? What's the total here? View, grid. Set the grid. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 tiles, okay. So 16 tiles total. Okay. So what do we do from here? We have this in normal UV. And then we have to calculate this new UV for this tile that we're doing. Does this have access to normal? I'm curious now. But no, that's not what we're looking for. This is gonna be the offset. And then our float 4 color is going to be equal to text 2D in dot normal UV tile atlas, and then we have to have this be bound in some way. Well, we have to do this, we have this regular UV thing here. Can we do... UV we have the UV that's going to go from 0 to 1 here, divided by 16 only on the X component. On the Y it's going to be 1. And then we're gonna plus the atlas, or C. This will be the index offset divided by 16. That's the limit we're dealing with here. And that should just work. C is a float value. Divided by 60 on the X, plus, and then the offset's gonna be 1, is 0 on the Y. And then it's gonna be normalized with a ceiling value of 16. This, instead of being 10, is gonna be 16. And now, instead of all this crap, we instead just have to set the atlas. And what do we call this again? We call this tile atlas. Okay. No longer do this. We simply set, don't even need the brush map. We simply set tile atlas. In fact, we can make this statically typed property now. And then this terrain, nope. This changes to a single texture. And we simplify our shader so much. It's gonna look so nice. So now we have, okay, still the same. Interesting. Anyways, we have this here. We have this new texture tile atlas 512. Let's make it a normal, reasonable format. Let's go into our terrain, set our atlas here, initialize it, and then hopefully this just works. No, doesn't seem to be working. No exceptions though. So I'm wondering where we're going wrong. Oh, we're not setting the albedo to this, are we? Too many interpolators. Wait, what? What are you talking about? Oh, because the UV? That's dumb. What are you talking about? Okay, this may not work. Okay. Interesting. What is going on here? So wait, one second. So we do 0, painting grass, right? We do 1, painting dirt. 2, it's a stone. So it is kind of working. It's just wait 1 second. Albedo color. Oh my goodness. We had it flipped. So it is kind of working actually. C is the value. And now we can put it back into debug mode. Or take it out of debug mode and it should be... Or it's being interpolated into a float value. Yeah, let me fix that. Float 3. From a single valley. What's going on here? Oh, because it's been yeah, it's been converted. It's the valley's back to base 16, or not base 16. It's back to a valley within 16. So I have to divide it back to be normalized again. Doesn't explain the non-debug mode look though, but yeah, because it was actually kind of working. In fact, it's kind of more helpful for this to still remain within its normalized value range, because if it's normalized, it saves us redundant calculations like this, for example. Or now we're setting it based off of its normalized value, divided by 16, and then divided by scale as well. I think that's another thing. Really interesting, man. This is so cool. Though we need to figure out how to ignore certain mouse inputs. Okay, we change this back to debug mode. There we go. Okay. I think we're getting somewhere. Not quite where. And that should be within here, the UV itself. It's always weird. I have to do this whole rigmarole before it like shows the correct texture. There we go. It's very weird. I have to keep doing that. Like this. Where's the player even located? Now that I think about it. Haven't seen him around in a while. Also, you know what? I should just make this a little bit easier on myself, because now we're just saying, hey, base 16. That's the limitation we're setting for ourselves. Brush controls, brush size doesn't really. That's gonna happen at some point. Brush map doesn't happen. Yeah, no brush maps. But now we have this variable of. Yeah, here we go. Current select. Why are you inlined? Why does it inline that? I hate that. And then we're gonna do range. 1 to 16, or technically 15 because it's exclusive. Though honestly, we should have index setting based off of UI. Yeah, you have to initialize it every single time. It remembers it though, that's the interesting part. Yeah, let me do some stuff. Yeah, new surface shader. Float UV main text. Where's our dust manager? Or there, here's our map projection. Here we go. There's some things we're gonna do. We're gonna put this guy in here. We're gonna get rid of this control texture, no longer needed. Yeah, I think that's about it. And then, what do we do here in the vertex pass? Or is this one of those default things that are gonna just work fine? Please tell me your default thing that's just gonna work fine. Oh my goodness. No shader error, so I'm assuming we're good. Okay, sweet, and then I can just use this normal instead. UV main text. That's dumb. Why is it saying there's too many interpolators? That makes no sense. $11 out of 10 for floor base? What are you talking about? It's the amount of times you call in UV main. Do we have to do like float to or fixed to? Or swizzle it, or pack it. I don't want to do data packing, but if we must, I shall. Line 18. That's so dumb. What are you talking about? I've gotten rid of interpolators. We just need, like, is it just literally this data here? Like, do I have to pack it? Oh, did I not account for it here? Is that the issue? Do I have to do O dot? Let me find this. Unity surface shader with vert pass. Thank you. No, that's with frag. I want to use a surface one. There we go. And now app data v full. Output input. how do we get this, V dot, is there UV? Like V dot color normal tangent text chord. I'm assuming text chord 1 is the normal UV. So instead of doing this, we can make this a float 4 and then make this a float 4 and then pack it like this. Or do V dot text chord X and then V dot text chord dot Y, I think. And then instead of doing this, we would just do equals normal UV dot and then ZW, the ZW swizzle, and that would work. I'm not seeing any errors. Let's init it, and then okay, some improvements. Not only have to do map resolution, scaling, or anything like that. We could just do and then noink. Hey, that seems to work pretty good. And then we can multiply it by scale. In which case we'll make this like 16, no, 32. And knit. Yeah, we need bigger scale than that. Oh, it's scaling the whole thing. That's not what we want. So we have our tile outlets, that's our source for this. In fact, let's get this separated out. And then what are we doing here? Our UV, our regular UV value range divided by 16 on the X and 1 on the Y. That makes sense. And we offset it so we get the correct texture, yeah. Okay. So we correct it so it's in the right UV range. And then once it's in the right UV range, what do we do with the final product? Like, what do we do with the final corrected UV range? In fact, let's make this, we have a property, right? Scale factor, yeah. Literally, we don't use it anywhere else, so we could just do scale factor here and play around with that. Okay, and then we have our scale factor property. This Atlas business is being difficult, dude. It's being difficult, dude. Yeah. Yes, it's a 1, it's correct, but the texture is just too big. It's too humongous. So what else can be the issue here? Or how else can we deal with this? So that we can change the scale factor, but it doesn't... Like, you don't have a wrap function. Like, wrap it around, yeah, because we're going to define the bounds of this UV range, and we could just wrap it between them. That might be the way we go. So we have its scale coordinates here with no factor change at all. So go from here to a single cell, and then we offset the cell to where it needs to be. Cool. And then we can wrap this cell between the minimum value of, let's say, float 2. These are all floats. Okay, yeah, I haven't written a thing to do this. Between what? If the UV is 0 plus C, so really it'd be C. Okay, there's a bunch of values to calculate here actually, because there's like a cell width, which is just going to be 1 divided by 16. And then 0, or C, and then C plus cell width, and then Y is gonna be a similar story. We're wrapping it from 0 to 1. That's simple. The only thing we wrap is X. And then we use cell times scale factor. And this should just work. Hopefully, potentially. And we change scale factor a little bit. Terrible. Yep. This Atlas idea has its own issues. I still believe. Wait, what is C? C is the wrong value. C is, yeah, what am I doing? C is, no, it's an offset on X. In fact, let's just change to offset. Plus cell width. Honestly, what if we do clamp instead? Okay, interesting artifact. And that's because it's outside of the range, yep. That's why we want to do wrap instead. Is our wrap function even good? Now I don't even know if my wrap function's correct. I don't think it is actually. Now that I look at this, it doesn't feel like it's correct. Let me test something. Flow 2, wrap, UV, times cell width. Okay. So there is a wrapping that happens. Interesting. So it kind of does wrap, just not in the way we would expect. And it's not wrapping for a single cell. Wait. Do I have things like flipped upside down? That'd be crazy. That'd be annoying, but... No. Results in the same behavior. Similar behavior. Just opposite direction. Yeah, it does end up wrapping. Though the scale factor would have to be different. Now that I think about it. It would have to be, hey, that looks better. Hey, wait a second. We're onto something here. Oh. Let's see if this brush paints the way you'd expect it to. But it seems like... Oh my goodness. On to something. Yeah, that's wrong. That's correct. That's incorrect, actually. This should be dirt. Dang it. So close and yet so far. The grass is working fine. Oh? That's not right in any sense of the word. It's super messed up and wrong. None of this is behaving like it should. None of this is behaving like it's supposed to. Yeah, no. My math is just wrong at some point in level or way. I look at my texture I have here. My atlas. 16 slots. 0 to 1, 0 to 1. Divided by 16. 1/16 by 1 is 1 cell. Plus 1 second. The offset is multiples of 1 divided by 16. So it would move over each time. They're discrete values aligned to world projection, so this is correct. Normal XY, yeah. Let me test something out real quick. Let's just do something even dumb and simple, just to make sure our UV is correct. Just to make sure I'm not going crazy. Oh. The UV is not aligned to the texture, or it's aligned to the... No, that's correct though. Okay, 0 and 1. Oh, we have to partition it differently. That's not the size of a cell. UV divided by 104. Okay, 1 second. I think we're onto something. Okay. So the regular 01 UV that we're getting from the terrain is actually very different. So we divided by, or actually we should divide it by the texture size actually. Yeah. Still wrong because this current selected index should be brown, so we're not quite there yet. We're getting closer. Okay. So I'm trying to get just the UV value for a single cell. I'm gonna have to step outside and just think about this a little bit more. Alright, I'm gonna stream here.